If your income fluctuates check to check, month to month, you already know it can be really hard to manage your money and actually save when your income is all over the place. Budgeting can be a great tool, but not everyone is wired that way. Plus, it's just harder to do when your income is irregular. So here's a system that I've recommended to clients that a lot of them find helpful. One that doesn't involve traditional budgeting or tracking every dollar, but still helps them save the right amount and takes the stress out of the wild swings. So no color-coded spreadsheets, no budgeting every dollar. And as a bonus, I will not shame you for buying lattes every day. I will judge you for daily frappuccinos though. That's just childish. All right, so here's the system. Step one, to set this up, you're going to need 3 accounts. One is a spending account. This is what you'll use to live your life. It's where your everyday bills and expenses get paid from. 2 is a long-term savings account. Money in this account is used to fund things like retirement, investments, debt payoff. And then 3 is an emergency fund. And side note, this is the most important because traditionally emergency funds are used for those unexpected expenses. You break your arm, you need a new water heater, your Cybertruck explodes. But if your income fluctuates, you'll be tapping into this account whenever the money is low in your spending account. And that's whether or not it's an actual emergency. So this is your Karen emergency fund, if you will. I'll get into how much you should keep in there and how to build it up if you're starting from scratch. But for now, just know it's crucial. Now, once your spending account, your long-term savings account, and your emergency fund are set up, step 2 is you're going to pick 2 percentages. One is a percent that you send to your long-term savings account every time money comes in. And 2 is a percentage you put towards your emergency fund every single time. So whether it's a big check or a small one, it's the same math just with different numbers. A fixed percentage goes to your long-term savings account, a fixed percent goes to your emergency fund, and everything else goes to your spending account. Now, ideally, your long-term savings percent should be the percentage you actually need to save to become financially independent or hit whatever your financial goals are. And one quick note, typically your long-term savings percent will be bigger than your emergency fund percent. But if you don't have an emergency fund yet, you might need to flip those numbers and have the higher percentage go to your emergency fund, at least until you built up that emergency fund. All right, so after you have the spending account, emergency fund, and long-term savings account set up, and you decided on the percent that goes into your long-term savings account and your emergency fund, step 3 is you're going to choose target ranges for your spending account and your emergency fund. This is going to be the range that you want those account balances to stay between. So if either your spending account balance or your emergency fund balance go above or fall below your target range, there's an automatic system for getting it back on track that I'll explain the next step. So your exact numbers for these target ranges are going to depend on your situation, things like how big your income swings are and how long you can go between big paychecks. But here are some rules of thumbs that you can start with, then adjust from there. For your spending account, usually 1 to 2 months of expenses is the baseline. And for your emergency fund, the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of expenses. That said, if your income tends to go quiet for longer stretches, you may need to increase and widen these target ranges. So if your income is super up and down, maybe something like 2 to 4 months in your spending account and 6 to 12 months in your emergency fund is more appropriate. So once your 3 accounts are set up, you pick your savings percentage for your long-term savings account and to your emergency fund, and you've picked the target ranges for your spending account and your emergency fund. Step 4 is you're going to follow this system. You're going to have set intervals, maybe weekly, maybe every other week, maybe 2 times per month, where you check the balances of your spending account and your emergency fund and do a sweep. Meaning you're going to be moving money from these accounts based on whether they're above or below their target ranges. And here are the rules of the sweep. If your spending account is too high, you move the excess to your emergency fund. If your emergency fund is too high, you move the excess to your long-term savings account. Now, if your spending account is too low, you refill it from the emergency fund. And if your emergency fund is too low, it's ramen noodle time for you. Just kidding. Mostly. But seriously, remember that you're already adding a set percent into that emergency fund every month. So ideally, it never gets low. But if it does, it means you need to bump up the percent you're saving to your emergency fund, which means you probably have to dial back your spending. Look, throw a fried egg on the top ramen. I've had worse meals. Just saying. So here's another way to picture this system. Then I'll give you a real life example of how this works. So think of your spending account, emergency fund, and long-term savings account as 3 buckets. If your spending bucket overflows, pour the excess into the emergency fund bucket. And if the spending bucket is low, fill it from the emergency fund bucket. Likewise, if the emergency fund bucket overflows, pour that excess into the long-term savings bucket. And if the emergency fund bucket is too low, you increase the percentage that gets put into it with each check. This gives you a repeatable, objective way to smooth out your income, and you don't have to track every dollar to do it. So let's go through a quick example of how this would look in real life. Let's say you get a couple of checks this month that add up to $20,000. You've already decided to save 30% to your long-term savings account and 10% to your emergency fund. So when this $20,000 hit, 30% of it, which is $6,000, goes to your long-term savings account. 10% of it, $2,000, goes to your emergency fund. The remaining $12,000 lands in your spending account. Now, fast forward a few days, it's time to check your balances and do the sweep. Let's say your target range for your spending account is between $10,000 and $20,000. So your check hits your account and you see that it's sitting at $26,000, $6,000 over the target range. That tells you that you need to transfer $6,000 from your spending account to your emergency fund. Now, let's say your emergency fund target is $30,000 to $60,000. But after that transfer that we just made, the balance for your emergency fund is $68,000, $8,000 over your target range. That means you move that $8,000 from your emergency fund to your long-term savings account. Now both accounts are back within the range. Now, fast forward a few months later, your income's been lighter than usual. When it's time to check your accounts again, you see that your spending account has dipped to $8,000, which is $2,000 below that $10,000 to $20,000 range. So you move $2,000 from your emergency fund to bring it back up. Then next up, you check your emergency fund and you see that it's now sitting at $58,000, which is comfortably between that $30,000 to $60,000 range. So nothing to do there. So that's the system. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Also check the pinned comments for a few bonus tips. And if you found this system helpful, give the video a like so YouTube knows to show it to more people. And I'll see you in the next one.